It's time for today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now. In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles, every time I try to give white people some credit that they're attempting to straighten out America's academic challenges, put America back on the academic right course, and push higher learning to all of American citizens. Here we go again. Look at this story here, Charles, and I'm sure you can relate to this. University of Wisconsin lacrosse chancellor removed for having an OnlyFans page, a secret porn site. Him and his wife had an OnlyFans page where people could watch him and his wife do all kind of strange, freaky, crazy stuff. Then they had a YouTube channel where they was cooking meals with porn stars, where they specialize in cooking fish and sausage. And so when I look at this type of madness, I don't have to wonder why America's academic rating is falling to an all-time low. I don't have to wonder why what Dr. Carter G. Woodson said, Harvard ruined more good Negroes than bad whiskey, because we got some freaks in the sheets in these college universities. He's the very top man university. Dr. Joe Dr. Joe Gow, I believe is his name. I was a little confused. He's a big time freak anyway. But see, it's stuff like this, Charles, that every time I try to give white folk credit that they're trying to do the right thing, you people are crazy.
Okay, firstly, you said a moment ago, I could relate to this if I got an OnlyFans or something. That's absolutely absurd. But every time a black person does something horrible or crazy, right? A black person commits a horrible criminal act or violence or whatever. If a white person were to say, you black people are crazy, that white person would be appropriately labeled a racist.
Negroes don't roll like this.
But you sit here casually.
Negroes don't roll like this.
You sit here, there are plenty.
We learned all that freaky shit from you all.
There are
I'm telling you straight
of
up.
African Americans running OnlyFans accounts. Right?
Name one academic giant that's black in America that him and his wife or her and her husband got an OnlyFans page for the freaks, the Greeks, and the sheets and the streets. Show me. Name one.
Clearly there were
We
warnings.
don't roll
Apparently
like
in
that.
2018,
Only when we hang out around you folks do we get like that.
In 2018, he brought Nina Hartley, a porn star, onto campus to give a speech. The only reason he got busted was not the sexually explicit OnlyFans, is he set up this YouTube cooking channel. And I don't really think they were focused on fish and sausage.
Yeah, they was cooking the filleted fish. The fish with the bone.
Well, I thought we didn't
I'm talking about that pink meat.
I thought we didn't.
Cooking that good fish, that salmon honey glazed fish.
I thought us whites weren't filleting anything. But anyhow.
Well, you buy it with the bone either removed already in it. That's where we come in to help you.
Anyhow, the truth is this is a public university. This is something that they've done in their off hours. And you still have the right to free speech, even pornographic speech. Now, I would say if it was a private employer or a private college, they would absolutely have the right to fire them. But that right is very constrained when you talk about a public employer and conduct that happened off the clock.
So you think the leader of such a prestigious university, that this freak should still have his job?
Well, I think,
and leading America's children.
I think
these are America's children.
These are college.
These are young adults. Some of them are still teenagers. Some of them 18 and 19 years old, still teenagers.
Okay, you're an
young adults.
You're old enough to go down to war. You're old enough to
still America's children.
Okay, not children, adults. But what we're talking about is we're talking about private conduct, public employer, freedom of speech. I don't know why you care. I don't know why any of us care, right? It's not like a police officer involved.
He sets the standard of the university.
It's not like
he's the head of the university.
It's not like,
he's not a regular employee. The buck stops with him.
It's not like a police officer engaged in like something horrible like the Ku Klux Klan or some other organization that would suggest he's not able to do his job. This is a guy that runs a page both on YouTube and OnlyFans where he promotes.
So you telling me that this man, the leader of the chancellor of a university, got an OnlyFans page where he deep-throating his wife for the world to see, and then got a porn star making him touch all 10 toes down, that he should still be the leader of that university.
I didn't expect
this man going to bend over and give evil an opening, and you going to tell me he should keep his job as the leader of a prestigious academic institution.
I did not think we were going to have a birds and bees conversation, but when you say he was deep-throating her, that's not really how it works, right? Deep-throating is when a man or a woman takes a man's phallus and takes it down the throat.
See,
right?
I told you white folks is freaks. See, I ain't know a damn thing about all that. See, I know. See, you know, you people need Jesus.
Maybe
you people need Jesus. I'm for real.
Maybe you're just confused.
No, you folk need Jesus.
Maybe you're confused.
You all have walked away from the Lord, walked away from the Bible, and y'all have gone crazy. You just told me something I had no idea about.
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine you being a sexual, naive person.
I am naive.
At like 97 years of age.
I'm square as a pool table twice as green.
Okay. First of all, you're lying.
I'm square as a pool table twice as green.
You know, maybe you were deep.
And whenever I've had sex,
I don't know.
I've always washed my hands with holy water.
With holy water. But at the end of did you wash with the holy water?
At the end
of the day,
you're just a sick
this
devil.
is a public employer. This is private conduct. This is something that a married couple did in their home, and then we're making money off it. People making money, crazy money,
sexually prostituting your wife.
Crazy. Oh, I wouldn't
on
want that.
social media.
I think that's repugnant.
Should keep his job as the leading top man at a university.
I think it is protected free speech, and if he was doing it at work, it'd be one thing. If he was promoting at work, it would be one thing. But private conduct in your private house,
some research.
I think it's absurd.
I did some research.
Yeah?
That man should be ashamed of himself.
Why?
That man's wife's breasts look like bite-sized nuggets. You don't do that woman like that. You don't put her on TV. You don't put her on the world for the worst of your wife's breast is the size of bite-sized nuggets.
Okay.
And she was so flat, looked like an ironing board, just built this flat in the back. You couldn't even see if she had anything back there. That man should be ashamed of himself to let the world see them bite-sized nuggets his wife had, and how flat that woman was. And that man, and I'm gonna tell you something.
So to be clear,
he was about 3 inches, Charles.
Okay. So to
now, how are you going to embarrass yourself like that?
So to be clear,
this wasn't John Holmes.
You are sitting here condemning this couple for doing it.
It was embarrassing.
But what you're condemning him for is her not having enough junk in her trunk or enough silicone in her boobs.
Built like a pancake, just missed flat in the back.
Okay, and in the size of his penis. So if he was packing 12 inches and she had double D's and she wobbled when she walked, you'd be okay with it?
No, I would say to him, you got a new career now, sir.
Okay.
Y'all can go do something else now.
Okay, but you don't. So whenever someone does something that works for the government, says or does something off the clock that you don't like, or you find morally repugnant,
this is a university
they should lose their job. Yeah,
leader.
It's a university.
The presidents do it all the time.
Okay, but then
John F. Kennedy did it.
Okay, so
and Bill Clinton got one butt naked on the Oval Office desk and went there with a shirt on. That freak, I'm telling you white folks, man.
To talk about
you white folks, y'all need to stop, man.
Nothing.
Y'all need Jesus.
At the end of the day,
I'm gonna pray for you Europeans. Y'all need
talk
Jesus.
About this. You're only pontificating about it because it's white people. If it was a black chancellor, you'd be sitting there making excuses and applauding them, right?
I didn't say that.
But you wouldn't be subscribing because he just wants to see the naked white folk.
I didn't say that.
You subscribe.
I did not say that.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
Quanell, and another example of world leaders, especially in the Muslim world, saying horribly profane things about Israel, Netanyahu, and its leadership. President of Turkey, Erdogan, who has a long history of genocide, of exterminating Kurds, women, children, of attacking civilians, of doing horrible, horrible things, of being behind the assassination of members of the press, just an awful fascist tyrant. Well, he has decided that he was going to make the argument that Netanyahu was like Hitler. Let's read the quote. They used to speak ill of Hitler. What difference do you have from Hitler? They are going to make us miss Hitler. Is what this Netanyahu is doing any less than Hitler did? It is not. He is richer than Hitler. He gets the support from the West. All sorts of support comes from the United States. And what do they do with all this support? They killed more than 20,000 Gazans. Well, Erdogan has killed far more Kurds. in intentional attacks and specific genocide. We have watched a genocide of Jewish people in the Middle East since the 1940s, when you had robust Jewish populations in a great number: Algeria, Syria, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, and now you see less than 2,000 in all of those countries. Less than 2,000, right? Where you saw hundreds of thousands of mere 50. We talk about genocide. We talk about genocide in Gaza. You know, Gaza's population prior to October 7th had tripled in the last 2 decades. So that's not a genocide. The fact that anyone would try to liken the leader of Israel's state to Adolf Hitler, who sought to actively exterminate, because we just talked about the Holocaust of Jews, but in a prior episode, you and I talked about the Black Holocaust in America. But of course, Hitler didn't have that many Africans to try to exterminate in Germany, but he most certainly did. He promoted the knowledge, the Aryan race, right? White, blonde hair, blue eyed, despite the fact that he was none of those things. He promoted the assassination and genocide. He actively carried out mass death camps. There is no relationship between what Israel is doing and what Hitler did. And it's absolutely repugnant. And it also ignores all of the horrible wars that are going on throughout most of Africa. The violence in the Central African Republic, the violence in Sudan, the violence in Somalia, the violence in Ethiopia. We have seen horrible violence in Pakistan. We see all of this violence. And the only thing we talk about, because America only cares about Western wars like Ukraine, because it's white people, about Israel, because we have somehow embraced anti-Semitism across the Western world in the most disgusting fashion, or about oil. Nobody cares about all the violence that goes on in this world. It's not, but it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
That's why the
Hitler.
Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told the men and women of the Nation of Islam that they should never fight in America's wars, because America will send black people to fight on foreign Western battlefields for America's best interests, but America would never send her military to stop genocide or mass killings on the African continent by tyrants. And so he said, how can we as a people go and fight for freedom for everybody else in the Western world, but yet our people die in Africa through genocidal wars weekly, and yet America says and does nothing? Not one tax dollar is sent over there with a military plane or military hardware to defend them. So he also went on to teach us that we cannot be a nation that tries to be the world police. Turkish president said some harsh things about Netanyahu, but Netanyahu is a criminal. Netanyahu is preparing for a corruption trial that many believe he will be indicted for, and many believe that he allowed this corruption trial to take place right during the time when they knew October 7th was coming, to draw attention away from his corruption trial, because Israel was made aware by Egypt on 3 separate occasions that October 7th was going to happen by Hamas. Turkish president has done some evil things to his own citizens. In fact, there's one beautiful Muslim brother here in America who is a refugee from Turkey, who believe in education, but because he taught education so strong in Turkey and against the tyrant President Erdogan, he was exiled, and they've been asking America to send him back to Turkey to be executed. He's the founder of many of these schools that you see around Houston and other cities called the Harmony Schools. He founded that, this Turkish Muslim leader. But Turkey's president has his own issues to deal with. But Netanyahu is a war criminal because he has bombed, causing the lives of tens of thousands, not Hamas fighters, but tens of thousands of children have been murdered with those Israeli bombs in Palestine. That is a war crime. Wrong is wrong. We have to call out no matter who does it, Muslim, non-Muslim, Christian, Jew, whoever's doing it. Wrong should be pointed out, but the American government should not be sending those bombs over there.
But that's not what's happening, right? We have a tremendous amount of Muslim on Muslim violence, right? Like the extermination of the Kurds. We saw that both in Turkey and in Iraq. And we've had a constant tide of Islamist on other Muslims violence throughout the Middle East and in Africa for decades. Right?
But America don't care about
that. No
that.
one seems to care. Well, you don't seem to care about it
Of
either.
course I care.
Because all you focus
And condemn
on,
it.
And actually, I mean, I don't know. It's just absurd. To hell with Erdogan. He's a monster.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, on a very serious note, there was a lawsuit just recently filed by the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank group, an organization, filed a lawsuit because the United States government is refusing to honor its Freedom of Information request about COVID-19 documentation that will prove where the origin of that virus originated. And they're accusing the United States government, CIA, is accused of hiding records that analysts took monetary incentives to bury COVID lab leak findings. President Donald Trump, when he was president, said he called it the Wuhan virus. The United States government said absolutely not. That did not take place on the Biden administration. But only later to learn that, yes, the COVID-19 virus was leaked out of a Wuhan clinic, a Wuhan lab, and that did spread from China throughout the entire world. But if this is true, that members of the CIA took money to hide the truth from the world and the American people about the origin of the COVID-19 virus, all of them should be locked up and prosecuted at the very highest levels, including the president, because I'll be damned he didn't know about this.
Well, if it started on Trump's watch, do you think he should be
Yes,
locked up?
absolutely.
Okay, the truth is that anyone paying attention has known from the beginning that it made no sense that, I don't even remember the animal they attributed to, some weird looking little scaly thing that they attributed at a wet market. I didn't know what a wet market was at the time. It's where bloody carcasses of animals are being sold, kind of like a flea market for dead food, or a farmer's market for dead food. But the truth is that it was always very clear to anyone paying attention that the lab leak theory made the most sense. You have this Wuhan lab that had been criticized in the past for the lack of appropriate protocols and security, that was tinkering with gain of function research, some of it funded by the NIH, by American taxpayers indirectly, and that they were tinkering with and seeking to weaponize viruses, and they achieved their goal and accidentally released it. Remember when Taiwan said, hey, this is airborne, let's be careful, but the WHO decided to opt with China's false narrative because China was saying, hey, if it's going to destroy our economy, we might as well let it go all around the world. And all the criticism of China, we were bullied into silence because they were called xenophobic. Remember Democratic politicians going to Chinatown and putting their arms around people. This was incredibly impacted Italy because in Milan, in northern Italy, the textile industry did a lot of work with the textile industry in Wuhan, and you had an elderly population, and that's who COVID kills. It kills people with comorbidities, obese people with heart problems, and the elderly.
Conditions.
Right? It exacerbates those and kills them. And we have all these idiots that have pretended and still pretend it's not real. We have all these idiots that push these false narratives. I don't agree with a mandatory vaccine, but the only way we could force feed to the world a vaccine that didn't have the appropriate protocols, or force feed to the world the fact that we must sacrifice our freedoms with no consequence to China, is if they lied to us. And that's why they lied to us, because we should all be expecting, reconvince you like to talk about reparations. We should all know it's not bigger than that lie.
It is
it's
bigger
all
than a lie.
rooted in that lie.
No, it's
but
bigger than just a
our
lie.
government has been lying to white people, black people, brown people, Asian people
If the
since
CIA,
the beginning.
Charles,
I agree.
took
there
money
needs to be consequences.
to lie about the truth,
Well, what do you think the CIA
that is
does?
a conspiracy
What do you-
that caused murder in America.
What do you think
That
the
is a
CIA
conspiracy to allow criminals to get away scot-free in China, who allowed that to be leaked out into the world.
What are we going to do?
This is what we're going to do.
The entire economy was
Congress and the
destroyed.
Senate should hold
That's
hearings.
yeah, I agree.
They should hold hearings
Hey, I
and
agree.
subpoena all of these CIA officials and get to the bottom of
you
this.
think they're gonna,
If they took money,
why not?
Charles, there should be indictments
Why not?
and prosecutions.
They're not going to do a damn thing because the Republicans and the Democrats were all in on it, right? all this, look at all the Republican and Democratic senators and congresspeople who are all of a sudden invested in Moderna and Pfizer and made millions, right? Those companies made billions, right? Because they fast-tracked an RNA virus or vaccine that would have never been approved if ivermectin was the real treatment.
I didn't take that shot.
That's why people got thrown off.
I didn't take that shot.
That's why doctors lost their license and people got thrown off social media for saying, remember we were talking about, oh, this is a horse drug.
The
there
advice
is a horse drug.
And the instructions of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who instructed all of us
I would suggest listening to a doctor.
Not to take that virus, not to take that vaccine. He said that that vaccine was not for us to take, that enough research had not been done, it had been rushed, and the consequences will be long-term, that will be irreversible. We didn't take the vaccine, and the Nation of Islam did very, very well. Brother, the American people deserve to know the truth. If the CIA took money to cover up the factual findings of where this virus came from and how it was released, the American people deserve justice. How many died? Hundreds of thousands.
Millions.
Millions. Millions all over the world. Charles, this is a criminal act. This is a criminal act.
I mean, here's the thing. The criminals in this situation were the Chinese government that kept it quiet.
And not the CIA who took money to cover it up?
But this is nothing new. We talk about the laptop, right? The laptop very clearly real. Right? The CIA went out of its way, releasing a letter, doing all these things to try to save Biden's chances electorally by silencing discussion. Remember, the New York Post got thrown off Twitter. The government thinks that it can control about what we talk about. That's their job. The scariest thing is the CIA isn't supposed to take.
So Trump is telling the truth.
The CIA should be taking no action in the United States. In fact, they're prohibited from doing it. And it sounds like
that's not what they've been doing.
I get it. And at the end, what we need is we do need hearings. You're right about that.
Because the CIA was involved.
The Republicans and the Democrats are in it together.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
All they want.
They were involved in helping to kill Malcolm X.
Quanell, but you are basically a shill for the CIA, right? That what the CIA wants is all of us mad about everything, mad at each other, blaming each other. White people hate black people. Black people hate them. Right. Black people. Well, you're always mad at white people. Right.
Well, white folks run the CIA.
Black people hate white
folks
people.
do run the CIA.
But
ain't nobody black running the CIA.
No. You're talking about the powerful against the powerless. And the powerful maintain power by keeping the powerless mad at each other and angry at each other. And maybe what we should do is put down all our petty grievances, all our historical grievances, all the reasons that people find to hate each other, and start hating the people that are controlling and destroying our lives.
Oh, so you mean a civil war?
Jerome Powell and the Fed,
you mean a civil
the
war?
CIA, Democrats and Republicans.
You mean a civil war?
I absolutely don't want a war.
That's exactly
I am anti-war. What I want is our
democracy
to work by starting voting all the idiots out.
And working class black and brown people and poor whites and poor black and brown people ever came together based around the facts of our government, it would be a war. Yes,
I don't think it'll be a war. I think that's what a democracy is supposed to be, and we are far afield. We don't need violence to solve our problems. We need to stop tolerating it and stop hating each other.
And criminals out there?
I absolutely disagree with Quanell that we need violence to solve the problems in America. What we need is far greater voter turnout, far greater participation, and far less of us looking at each other and hating each other based upon our complexion. We should hate each other for the people that do things like cough during your final round, like Quanell over there. We should only hate each other when somebody individually does something horrible. I said it on the last show. Hate individually, love holistically. We've got to stop tolerating the nonsense from the CIA. We've got to stop tolerating any sort of nonsense from our government that colludes to keep us separated and keep us down. Let's talk about these perverts in Wisconsin. He works for a public university, not a private university. What we should be doing is looking for reasons to fire people because they're not educating kids, they're not doing their damn job, because we got a lot of that going on in America. But none of us should care what people do in their own homes or people do on their private time. And if it's something they're doing and making a little more money, I don't really care. And for Quanell to suggest that it is only white people that are doing the freakadeek, maybe he should listen to some Nicki Minaj and some Cardi B and find out that it's people of all colors.
What the American people need is justice. If the CIA took monetary compensation to cover up and hide the truth of the origin of the COVID-19 virus, that is a criminal act and it's a crime against humanity because millions around the whole world died from the COVID-19 virus. For them to take money and cover it up is a criminal act, a crime against humanity, and there should be prosecutions. We can have hearings on impeaching Biden. We can have hearings on Hunter Biden's secret tax problems and criminal acts, and we can have hearings to impeach President Trump. But we cannot have hearings on something as significant and important as this. Our politicians are playing games with the American people, and we deserve better, and we deserve to know the truth. Now, in regards to the poor chancellor at the university down in Wisconsin, bless his heart, but an academic leader of a prestigious academic institution of any level should not be held as the finest example of what the school has to represent as a chancellor for a man that has a secret OnlyFans porno page for him and his wife to make money from, performing deviant sexual acts that same hypocrite chancellor will turn around and tell our young people on campus, don't you do on campus, but yet he can make money doing it in his bedroom.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.